Hello guys, this is a beautiful day. Today is Monday. I know you don't know wherever you are, but today is Monday and it's a beautiful day. As you can see, I'm wearing a white shirt. Today is a working day. Everybody's looking serious around me. But then, I'm not here to talk about them. I'm here to talk about the BryanWealth show. I know you've missed me, and of course you've missed Wells, but then today I'm the center of attraction. I'm the center because I'm at the center. So, like I always say, we are content before the content we give you. And today on the BryanWealth show, we'll be talking about the ENDSARS protest. I know you guys have been waiting for us to put out an episode on the ENDSARS protest. Well, now you have the ENDSARS protest. We'll be talking about the ENDSARS protest and all the ensuing events that took place during this protest and after the protest. So, today on the show, I'll be having a wonderful friend. Beautiful, gorgeous, nice, slick. She's looking angry, but then I'm believing I can make her smile on the show. What's the issue now?
It's Monday. Monday is always an issue.
Okay. Okay, guys. She's going to introduce herself and then we'll kick off from there. So, Papa, talk to them.
Hello, everyone. My name is Abby, and I am the wonderful person that he has been trying to introduce.
Yeah, she looks gorgeous, right? I always bring gorgeous people on the show. You know. So now that's by the way. So today we'll be talking about the ENDSARS protest. The ENDSARS protest brought a lot of unwanted events, avoidable events, but then certainly unwanted events. So can you tell us when this ENDSARS protest started and what it started with?
Well, obviously, like when it started, it wasn't too big, but for most of us, were like already like aware that something was going on as regarding SARS because of obviously like the terror acts that we've been hearing of. So, according to my knowledge, it all started when there was a viral video. You know,
I said this before. I've said this, okay, not on the show, but then I've said this to a few friends. This ENDSARS thing, it's a culmination of things that have been happening over time that have not been filmed. A lot of people have been harassed over time, over the years. Even in my present city, a lot of people have been harassed and they've been made to pay huge sums. And it's not right, but then it's the situation we find ourselves, it's the society we find ourselves. These things happen and happen and happen. But then it got to a peak. It got to a point where somebody had to film, do something about it, and put it on the internet before it gained widespread attention. So after that, what happened?
Well, basically, you know, the thing about this ENDSARS protest is it has actually been going on for a very long time. I personally, I've heard, oh my God, countless stories of SARS harassing people on the internet. So this is not just a protest that just, you know, came out like, you know, it has actually been
building,
like, you know, and then there's actually been a protest, like a social media protest for the longest time. I've read stories about SARS like years back online. These are things that have happened to people close to me, like, you know, my brother. It happened like I think a year or 2 years ago, like, you know, him being harassed by SARS. So these things have been happening, and then people just share their stories on social media, like, oh, we need to end SARS. So this protest has actually been building on social media for a long time. But I think this year, like, it became an on-site protest. Like, people had to come out of their houses, sleep on the streets to get an answer from the government, because, you know, there's always a peak. You know, there's only so much that we can take, and then like we just got to the peak, and you know, the youth felt like, okay, enough is enough. It's enough of saying it on social media. We need to prove it. It actually started in, I think, Delta, and some Delta and one other state, I think, before ABJ picked it up, Lagos, and then before we knew,
like
most states,
every state
youths were
was
coming out
picking
and
it up.
protesting. So it was something that was building gradually, but it had to happen.
You know what I noticed? I noticed that there was a unity of movement, and it was not just people protesting because they felt like, or people protesting for different reasons. It was for one reason. There was a unity of movement. And ENDSARS is supposed to be special anti-robbery squad, you know. Special anti-robbery squad. I know
we
you.
are the ones robbing. These people are supposed to do robbery and they are the ones robbing.
In case you don't know, Special Anti-Robbery Squad is 2 or 3 notches higher than the regular police. They are supposed to curb robbery on higher levels. They are supposed to go after those guys with guns.
They rob on lower
Do you
levels.
understand? They are supposed to go after those guys with ammunition. Those guys that have wealth of arsenal.
You know how we say don't judge a book by its cover? Well,
Yeah.
SARS will judge you by literally your cover, your hairstyle, the clothes you're wearing, the kind of phone you're carrying, the kind of car you're driving.
The kind of hair you have done.
Exactly.
Moving forward, something happened. Something really striking happened. In as much as we had lots of Nigerians protesting in one voice, lots of youths protesting in one voice, something remarkable happened. Celebrities joined in the protest. It was mad.
Mad.
It was really mad. I know you want to say something about it.
Definitely. Now, I know that obviously the way society is, like, the higher ups always have a sort of influence. I mean, generally, like, we all have influence on the next person, you get, but then, like, the ones that are higher, the ones that are at the top, they kind of have a bigger influence, and that's exactly what happened during this protest. Now, the youth were ready, like, we're angry and we wanted our voice to be heard, but when celebrities started to come in, when they started to lend their voice, it became bigger, it became better, because they just had their voice just made a greater impact. International news media was carrying our news.
Yeah, we had every kind
and
of
then we
celebrity.
had international celebrities, posting, retweeting. So, like, this was big.
I remember Taraji also posting about the serious issues in Nigeria and how that Nigerians needed help. It was really
CNN
a statement
was covering
for
us
me.
live.
Yeah,
BBC was covering us live. We had international celebrities like Roddy Rich, Rihanna talking about ENDSARS.
I think we had The Rock too talking about
it was a big
It was
deal.
really serious.
Yes.
So for Nigeria, the celebrities we had here, we had Davido, we had Whiskey, we had Fowls. So most of you don't know, but Fowls is a lawyer by profession. His other profession outside music is law, and he studied to the letter of the law. So he knows the Police Act. He knows every act in every segment, every section of the Constitution. So he's well read, and so he was beginning to shed more light on the police reforms and where their powers end, and jurisdiction and all those things. It was such a wonderful sight to behold that we have musicians that were actually intelligent outside music and songwriting. During protests, sometimes if you don't know why you're protesting, if you don't know what you are protesting for, if you don't know the limits of your protest, you protest amiss.
Exactly.
But then there was such uniformity in this protest that we knew what we needed.
Exactly.
We knew what we wanted. We knew that we needed sanity back in our streets, and then we knew that what we wanted was SARS to be gone. And so after all the whole thing had built to a climax, the DIG, right? The IG of police, rather. The IG of police put out a statement, a press conference, that SARS have been dissolved. Everybody was like, yay. But then I quickly remember that there was a time, or there have been times, where
times.
SARS have been dissolved. But then something else happened. The wahala built again. You understand? Then he now said, this is where the problem started, that there's a new squad. It's called SWAT. Trust me, I know what SWAT is. SWAT in some countries, they go to places like Afghanistan and they stay in a very far building and kill somebody like Osama bin Laden. You know, in a house. So why did they bring SWAT? Why are they bringing SWAT? SWAT. Like SWAT.
Like SWAT.
Really? That means what he was trying to say is that, let me just say it in these terms. He was trying to kill us. He's trying to make sure that all the people that protested die from a distance. But then we were too smart, and we noticed from the off, and then another protest started again. It was called ENDSARS, ENDSWAT.
Yeah, and then this time we had our own 545.
Yes, and then
Definitely.
we had to give the government our own demands.
Yeah.
Now, the tricky question I want to ask you is, what did you think about police reforms as opposed to actually ending SARS and SWAT?
They gave us their 5 things that they were going to do as regards our protest, and we came up with our own 545. And we said, listen, we don't want a new body called SWAT. We want the police to be reformed. We know that security is needed in the country. We're not saying take away the police, but we're saying reform the police. And it's beautiful. If you actually go and read our 545, because obviously it's still on the internet, you would see that I think after like the first 2 points that were just really focused, centered on the people that have been harassed and their compensation and investigations, you see that the rest talks about the police, reforming the police, paying the police more, making the police feel like what they're doing matters. You get?
There's something very striking in there. The police needs to know the laws.
Yes,
they can't just go in the streets and start shooting people.
Yes,
and putting people in the van. They need to know the restriction of those laws. Yeah,
like we need to be able to psychologically,
in case you don't know what reforms is changing their intellect about policing,
Yes.
about arresting, investigation, the importance of investigation, the you should know why you are arresting someone.
Exactly.
And there should be a proof
And be fit
to show
enough.
yes
Be fit
a
enough.
fitting proof to show that, okay, I'm arresting you because of this is a criminal thing, or this is a criminal case, this is misdemeanor, this is a felony, this is why I'm arresting you, and it is a crime in this jurisdiction, so you have flouted this. You understand? But they arrest people without warrants all over the country, and they collect huge sums. Some people even died. You get? So this was why we were doing what is called police reforms, ENDSARS and ENDSWAT, because the thing had been abused.
Much.
Yeah, it had been abused, and a lot of people had paid with their lives. So as I was saying, I said celebrities came out to do this protest with us, and there was such uniformity in the whole thing. But then I noticed something. We didn't have a leader, and that was very, very striking. In the midst of all the celebrities, P Square, Peter and Paul, Falz, Davido, Wizkid, and the rest, we didn't have a leader. So what struck you about this?
The fact that there was no leader just points out that this, like the way the government was saying it, was not what it was. This wasn't an attack. This wasn't planned to be an attack to the government. It was just the people, aligned together, like minds rubbing minds, and saying, okay, you know what, we deserve this change. Let's do this.
Okay.
As a people.
Something happened during this process. Whilst we had no leader, the government did something. They would come occasionally and ask, when the thing was getting to boiling point, who is the leader of this protest? And then you hear stuff like, there's no leader, we don't have a leader. The psyche behind that question the government was asking was because if we have a leader, 1, you can be bribed, 2, you can kidnap your family. That's what the government is trying to say. 3,
Oh my God.
you can be bribed. They can get you in a negotiation table, or they can get you on a negotiation table where they get to offer you money, opportunities that you can turn down. Mind you, everybody has a price. I don't know if I have a price though. Okay. Everybody, statistically speaking, has a price. And so if they name your price, you will fall for it. So you can't bring everybody to a negotiation table except you come out and speak to everybody. So that was his psyche behind it, and we're wise enough to understand that this would happen. It was a preemptive thought. So we're wise enough to understand. And so they couldn't get through to us. So the government now devised a plan. We had thugs disrupting the protest in different cities in Nigeria. Majorly Lagos, Abuja. I heard some in Delta, I heard in Port Harcourt, and in some other cities too. What do you think was the game plan behind that?
Well, the thing with the attacks and the thugs was that and the funny thing is the thugs were young people, so it felt like they were from the protesters. The aim was to disrupt the protest. It was to paint the protesters as people that were not protesting for the right reasons. It was to shake this unity that we're formed. Like, oh, amongst you there are bad eggs, you know, so this thing will not work because you people are not seeing eye to eye. It's not everybody that agrees with what you people are doing. Some people want to do it the wrong way. So it was to shake, the youth, make them feel like what they were doing wasn't good enough.
Mind you, the aim of the protest was a peaceful one. And
very peaceful
in
one.
every country, a peaceful protest cannot be stopped by the government. It is allowed, it is legal for peaceful protesters to protest for a common goal.
And the funny thing about these thugs, oh god, I love what Nigerian youth did. They stood their ground. Some of these thugs, they came into the crowd in some states during the protest. They tried to stab people, hurt people, and these people attacked them. And there was actually a video where they beat up this thug, and then they sat him down. They tried to treat him. They gave him food, and then they started asking him.
I think I saw that video.
And then they started asking him, "Where did you come from?" And he said, "Oh, I don't know. Somebody just gave me 500 and sent me to enter into the crowd." This is proof that these thugs were not even part of the protest. These people are not part of what we were doing. Then somebody just pays them and says, go into the crowd and do this and disrupt. So, they were trying to break that unity with these thugs.
They were trying to affect the narrative that the protest is not as peaceful as we say it is. So, once it's not uniformed and it's not peaceful, it then means that the government can end the protest. There can be a curfew. Hence, in Lagos, I think in cities like Surulere, in places like Surulere in Lagos, some people were arrested and then they were later released. I think Desmond Elliot and some other people went to the police station to seek their bail, and they were bailed later. 2 women, actually, elderly women. So you can see how this thing was building. It was really, 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 really serious. We had the candle night, right?
Yes, for those that had lost their lives over the years as a result of SARS
brutality.
Yes.
On the 20th of October 2020, peaceful protesters came out in mass again in all parts of the country. Now I'm going to carry my lasers to Lagos. Lagos was the huge center of attraction. At this point, everything was at a boiling point, and Nigeria in one voice was speaking in Lagos. So we blocked several toll gates in Lagos, especially the Lekki toll gate. Now, at around 12 o'clock, there was a public address by the governor of Lagos State, Sanwo-Olu. He said that by 5 p.m. there will be a government-imposed lockdown. It will start. Now, you know how Lagos State is, the traffic is mad. Traffic is crazy. So you don't expect people to get to their houses. So people started trying to appeal to the government to push the lockdown forward. They should push it forward, but it would have been announced that there will be a lockdown the next day, a curfew the next day. But then government, as usual, you know how they play deaf ears. This curfew thing started. It means anybody they find outside as at 4-5, they will shoot you. They have the right to beat you up. That was the plan. But then people couldn't get to their houses, so people were stuck on the road. At the Lekki toll gate area, people were stuck whilst they were appealing. And so when the whole thing started, government at about 4-5, I noticed that people were complaining that some people from the government went to take down the cameras, the CCTV cameras in the Lekki toll gate area. When they took it off, at about 6:37, we saw army trucks moving towards the Lekki toll gate area, and then they barricaded around the protesters. And then guess what happened? They started shooting at peaceful protesters holding flags and singing the national anthem. How did you feel? Crazy. I don't know how you felt, but then for the first time in 2 years, I had tears in my eyes.
It was so sad.
It was uncontrollable for me. Like, your fellow human beings, Nigerians, peaceful protesters are being killed somewhere, wherever.
And when you know that they're being killed for doing nothing, people that just wanted to lend their voice to change in the country, young people dying, oh my God.
I don't know where you were when that happened, but then if you're a Nigerian, if you're a human being, the fact that I know you want your enemies to die, but then if they are being killed when they can't defend themselves, and when they don't intend to defend themselves, you don't see them with a weapon,
They don't intend to attack.
then it makes you an animal. It makes you a beast. And for the first time, I was ashamed I was associated with a country like this, with a government like this. And then a lot of Nigerians lost their lives, a lot of people. And then we saw the video the switch made, the live video she made. She's a hero, trust me.
She was live. She was at the location. She was live for I think close to an hour, if not even more.
It was more than that.
She was showing like everything that was happening live. And
There were live bullets, M16s.
oh my god, there were people. Her camera was showing people. As of when she was live, and she came out later to even still say this, as of when she was live, 7 people. She had already recorded 7 people dead. 7 people. And then she said even after her battery was off and they still counted, as of when she was still there, the total number as of when she was still there was 50. Like, people died.
A lot of people died.
Imagine the people that were there, how they felt. We that were seeing it live on IG, you're seeing dead people, you're seeing people that have bullets here and there, you're seeing people. There was this guy that they were trying to encourage, telling him to say, I will not die, I love this. And then, oh my god.
The guy died.
Oh my god.
The guy died.
This live session was
The guy
so
died.
wild. It was so wild.
And then later in the night, there were people that they carried to churches. You know, they stopped cars and this in hospital vans from picking people. So
they did not allow ambulances to pass
So
through.
later, they were helped by people from the private sector, people from churches.
Yes.
Like there's a church I remember, Life Point Church. They helped put
They housed
some
of
peaceful
them,
protesters in their church, take care of them. Some people were taken to the hospitals the next day. It was terrible. Trust me. Because it was crazy.
Even without seeing the graphics, just hearing that people were shot and people died for protesting peacefully, that has got to it hit differently, man. It hit differently.
So moving forward, after the protest, one would think that we will have a sympathetic and empathetic government. But then the opposite happened. They started defending themselves. They started bringing out funny statements. The narrative was changed totally from something we watched live. Supposing there were no camera phones and this thing was not live and the switch was not there, we would have agreed with the government. But then they started putting out wrong in stations like channels TVC. Started hearing stuff like the army didn't shoot at peaceful protesters. Those people were not even the army.
That is not even as bad as fine. Like maybe these media outlets, they get the news and they just report it. It's not even as bad as the governor of Lagos himself coming out to address this issue the next day and saying there was no fatality, like nobody died. How can you do that? That's disregard to people that lost their lives.
I don't know if he's saying. I think he's trying to say that we are stupid.
It's like, and this thing was live. It's like everybody looking at a lion and then you're telling us the lion is a dog. It didn't happen.
The way you think it happened.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think you were hallucinating. A few days ago, CNN brought out, they showed videos of it.
CNN was live.
Yes.
CNN went live. I think they drone also.
Yeah,
and then
everything that happened.
Like there was so much live. There were so many live videos.
Live coverage.
It was embarrassing to see our government denying this thing. It was embarrassing.
Anyway, they've threatened to sanction CNN. I don't know. Now that's not even the most painful part. Buhari himself released, the father of the nation.
He was quiet for all the week. His Excellency was quiet. In fact, he was
he was mute.
He was, oh God. No, and then he comes out 2 days after to address us. And mind you, like his address, oh my God, I don't.
It was funny. It was laughable. That was not an address. That is something else. Don't call it an address. That was pre-recorded. It's because it showed it was live. I wonder who edited that video because it was not live. It was pre-recorded. So it was laughing. You don't want to hear what he said. He did not empathize with Nigerians.
Telling you, like, it's not even about the show.
He was so insensitive.
If it was pre-recorded, but it was 12 minutes.
Yeah.
12 minutes.
Exactly 12 minutes.
If he even spent, like, it was pre-recorded, but then he was empathizing with the the nation and looking for and saying things that would comfort the people, be understanding. It was a pre-recorded 12 minutes of him using like 6 minutes to talk about his good government. His good government. Using like another 4 to talk about how what we did not make sense. And then using 2 to say that
Yeah.
they will answer us.
If we keep talking about this, we will not go. In as much as it pains us so much, I want you to ask yourself, what country are you living in? What is the fate of the nation? Because I will not be the one to answer that question for you. Everybody should individually ask themselves and answer it. If this is not the place for you, please leave. If this is the place for you, make it work in your geographical location, in your small environment, because the change begins with all of us. I think all of us need to go back to the drawing board and re-educate ourselves about our nation. If we're going to rebrand our nation, it should start now and very quickly. So it's been a nice time. I had a beautiful time with you. Don't you like her? She's fine, right? So that's it on the BryanWealth show. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. I know you guys missed me. I'm here now. I know you want to be seeing her. You will see her. I'll make it happen for you to be seeing her. I know you love her. She's the face you want to see outside my own face, right? So that's it on the BryanWealth show. My name is Bryan, and yeah.
I'm AB.